All right, everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. So today you'll notice I have my regular chart in the back, but I have none of my other props because they're moving things around in here and I don't know what happened to it. So hopefully keep your fingers crossed somewhere. Someone's got it hidden away. So, well, like I said, they're want to get everything out of the cabinet and put other cabinets. So I don't know where they are. So
That's a combined skill.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Remind me what the thing will say, remember this and that.
Yes. All right, so today we are going to start in a section on text 41, paragraph 1, called The Error and the Ego.
Text 41.
That is correct, paragraph 1.
Didn't work. I can't believe it.
I can't believe something. All right, everybody find it?
I see it, but got it. The bottom of the page is where it is, number 1.
Yeah, error and ego.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is a really interesting section. Not that they aren't all interesting, but I think this really kind of pulls together a lot of things that the course talks about over and over and over in, once again, a slightly different way, but I think it's quite helpful. So error and the ego, and think about the choice for the ego was an error, and as the course says, you did not sin, you simply made an error, and that error was that you chose for separation, but separation isn't real, and we can now choose again or choose for the Holy Spirit. All right. So as a result of choosing for the error of the ego, the abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. You are also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessly. Perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. This is because they are meaningless to each other. That's a mouthful, so we'll go line by line. So the abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. So basically this idea of once the separation took place, we became less than what we were. And as a result of that, we are living in shadows instead of the light and the connection of oneness. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. And I often will say in duality, there's two, and in oneness, there's one. In oneness, there's nobody to fight. There's nobody to compare. There's nothing, there's no decisions to be made in that respect. In duality, we're always choosing between oneness or duality, and when we're in duality, we're always in some form of conflict. That's the package we bought, the package of conflict. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. And in the course, the word knowledge represents knowing who I am. And when I separated from that, now I don't know who I am. Even though who I am is still available to me, I usually choose against what that is.
And when you say that we don't know who we are on many levels.
That is
many
absolutely
levels we
correct.
don't know.
Yes.
We don't even know that we're on those levels. So this is what this is about.
Correct. You are also, excuse me, also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessly. And when we choose for the ego, we are always choosing lovelessly. And to the degree that we continue to choose lovelessly, we cannot be aligned with knowledge because, well, I don't have my thing, because, yeah, right. That's what I got a finger for. So this side would be knowledge. This side would be loveless. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What did you mean when you said on many different levels? I understand your comment.
So that's what it said here about you are incapable of knowledge because you can, oh, no, that part. You're not, I don't know, I had it written up at the top about the conflict arises from the concept, because in oneness, there's no levels.
Correct.
So in
Right.
oneness, there's nothing to separate out, but in
Duality.
having duality, everything also has another way of separating out. So it's like you're thinking one thing and then you can think the opposite. So it really like keeps splintering off, keeps
Right.
changing. And so then the levels turn into a problem in all their own, on their own, how they're are manipulating us into thinking that we just got that right, so we must be okay, or something like that. But obviously we're not to the place where we are okay, because it will come back and haunt us or whatever. We don't have it. You can't use it, you can't figure it out with your mind.
True. And what may be working today won't necessarily work tomorrow either. That's another way to look at it.
And is it about the body?
Oh, it's always about the body.
It's all about the body and emotions.
Right.
It's not about the mind. So
Well, and I would say that's a tricky answer because the thought of separation came first. So we were messed up first, then we projected into the world of bodies. So even though we projected onto bodies, it's really coming from the choice in the mind, right? But we then focus all on the body, thinking I'll solve the problem in the body where the answer is not solved in the body.
and you can't just back out of the body. So
Well,
it's like
yeah.
it catches you both ways, and it puts you in different levels of thinking when you're in it with the ego.
Right. Does that help at all, Russ? Yes, no? Yes, that was a question mark. Yes.
So that would include feelings, perceptions.
Everything,
emotions,
everything,
all
yeah.
that.
All right, so perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. And what that means is, again, before perception occurred or the separation occurred, there was just one. So we know if you're an artist and there's just the white screen, there's no perception, there's no depth to the picture. As you start to make layers, you then have a picture that stands out from something else, and that creates perspective and perception. But in oneness, that's not there. So perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. And be very aware, we're very aligned with degrees, aspects, and intervals. That's our whole life is evolved around that kind of a thing. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Again, if I only have one, who do I argue with? Myself. There's nobody else to argue with, which we sometimes manage to do too, but that's beside the point. Only the levels of Trinity are capable of unity. And what that means is the concept of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, or the Holy Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, not Holy Ghost, is this course would talk about. So those are really one, even though they are depicted for explanation as more than one. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. So one or the other is always being played out in the dualistic experience. This is because they are meaningless to each other. So again, in duality and oneness, it's either this or it's this. And never do they touch. And on this chart, down the middle, there's that line. Nothing touches that. Nothing can move over here, this over here, as whichever one you're choosing, you will get the effect of that.
We're born into duality. We start with duality.
We are born into duality because we chose duality, and that set into motion the storyline of duality, of which we then were born into, and we thought, this happened to me. But it was really it got projected into the world. We drew that line, so I'd forget that we were the ones that did it. And now we're playing in there, truly a sweet little innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. Okay. And again, it's a setup, guys, a setup of which we set ourselves up, and then we popped in and pretended we didn't know anything. And it's working really, 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 really well. All right, so paragraph 2, which is, I don't encourage people to scribble in their books, but this might be one you could do that too. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. Yet you can know yourself only as you are, because that is all you can be for sure. Everything else is open to question. All right, so again, very important little paragraph there. Let me, since I don't have my other, I had to bring some today. All right, so consciousness, the level of perception. So there is light, there is oneness. Ta-da. And then consciousness, the level of perception, showed up and covered over the light. Now, we know if you were in a movie theater and there was that light, it would project onto the screen total white. But when we put a piece of film in front of it, now the film is going to be projected onto the wall. So what's in front of that will now show up on my screen, and I will look at it out here thinking that that is what is in my world, but it's actually what is in my mind. And we know that when you dream at night, we all, whether it's a positive dream or a negative dream, when you're dreaming, you believe it's real. Okay? Yeah, no question. And then you wake up from the dream, and if it's a nightmare, you go, oh, thank goodness that was a nightmare. Now, if it was a really nice dream, you might say, oh man, I wish I could go back to sleep and play in there again. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. You're the dreamer of the dream at night. And this is saying you're the dreamer of the dream during the daytime as well. Now, I know it's not easy to see from where you are, but the middle character here is me. And me is in white, which again, you probably can't see as well as I'd like you to, but it's the sweet little innocent victim, and all these other characters are the bad guys or the people that cause me problem. When the Course is saying that is incorrect, the problem is you put the film in front of the truth of who you are. This was oneness. Now you splintered off into duality, and you blame all your problems on something or someone outside of you, when in truth, the problem isn't any of those, including yourself. The problem is you put the film, belief in separation, in front of what is truth. Okay, so this is all about getting back to, oh, wait a minute, I'm not really upset for the reason I think. I must have chosen for the ego. I can choose for the Holy Spirit. Yes.
So consciousness is the fabric of the dream.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So
I would even, I'm trying to think of how else I would say, because it's not really the fabric, it is the effect of choosing for the dream. Then came, because again, if all there was light, That's all there is. Soon as we had the belief in separation, then we had this appear. So this is a part of the belief.
But we've said that identity is the fabric of the dream,
It's part of it, yes.
because that's what we wanted. We wanted to have our own, we want to be our own God.
Correct, and that's why the me in here. But we also want, not just me, we want others to play the part of my perpetrators so that I could be an innocent victim.
Right.
Right.
I'm talking about before that, if we go back to the ego,
Okay,
that's what I'm talking about.
oh, okay, at that
I'm not
point,
talking about at the
right,
level of the
at that
perpetrator.
point, you wanted to be an individual, special, different, and most importantly, you wanted to be God. Okay, so we thought when we did this, we killed off God. All right, we'll turn him off because he's dead. And all there was this, but in essence, all we did was covered God over, and God is remaining exactly how he was. But I'm identifying with this, and I don't remember that this is who I really am and who God really is.
So does identity come before consciousness, or consciousness before identity?
Does identity, identity would come, you know, as far as a body identity, are you talking
Not
about?
necessarily a body.
Okay.
I mean, identity doesn't imply a body. It could be
Right,
a
this
spirit.
is
It could be
true,
any-
right, right.
So if there is no time, what's the difference?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good point.
Egos like to ask questions, right?
So consciousness means there is an other.
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, there is another. Yeah.
And you'd have to have identity to precede that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Identity, the idea of identity would be preceding consciousness.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And well, and think about,
This would be like the second domino after you get it.
correct,
The same.
right, right,
Right.
right. Yeah,
It's,
And-
you're trying to split which is which, it's the same thing.
right, right,
Because as you became an individual,
correct.
then consciousness came into play.
Right. And again, it was a choice of which we made that choice, and then the answer was given, of which we looked at the answer, and now we were afraid because what did we do? We projected this onto God. So I'm an innocent victim of God, and God's the bad guy. So who wants to go back to him? So we stayed here in the midst of terror, of guilt, sin, and fear, and whatever else came with that, and darkness. And then we solved the problem by projecting into the world so that I could be an innocent victim, and everything and everyone else is my problem. Wonderful setup.
So consciousness is a manifestation of the ego, and we're sort of a manifestation of the consciousness.
Correct. And not only that, but, okay, so when we're looking out at this concept in the course, not only are all of these characters around me made up of that belief in consciousness, so am I. Because we all spend our time thinking, I did something wrong, I'm not good enough, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too something, when in truth, you're none of those, you're this. But the whole focus becomes, what about this? Let me fix it, let me change it, let me manipulate it, let me can I do in the world to play in the game of this, which is basically living here, trying to figure out how I can maintain my separation and have something or someone replace God and love me and take care of me and do whatever people do in the world, of which nobody in the world can fulfill that requirement because they're not any more whole than you are. And the whole thing is, and I put them there, yes, yeah.
Who's the dreamer?
Well, and that's,
In the middle there, they.
this is the dreamer. This is the dreamer. And keep remembering, okay, this is back here, okay? This is back here, okay? I'm not aware that this is going on. All I know is my screen up here, of which I think I'm one of the characters. But the whole time, this is simply being projected onto the wall, and I'm now observing it. And I think I'm separate from it. I think the me, well, yeah, but the dream is really back here. I think I'm one of the characters in the dream that's being shown on the screen in front of me.
That's your.
There's only
Never
dream
left
figures.
you to find
Well,
out.
exactly, but I think one of the dream figures is who I am. Exactly, me.
But they're all made up.
They're all made up. And that's why I'm trying to get that visual concept in people's minds and my own, to really get clear on the problem is back here. I think the problem is all those people in my life around me. It's not anything to do with them. And that's why the Course says, there's,
There's your true self.
well, what's there, back there is both of these. True self is here, but the slide that is the dreamer of the dream is back here too. All I'm aware of is the projection on the screen, of which I think I'm one of the characters. There is no characters out here.
No, you're none of those things.
None of those things, but the way it's set up, that's my experience is, I mean, and, you know, we can say all the words we want to say, but the facts are I'm sitting in this room, I see a whole bunch of people. I don't think you're me. But this is keeps asking us to, when, especially when we're affected by something in the dream, to bring it back to, all right, I don't know. My experiences.
They're watching what's
Well,
being projected
Exactly,
on the wall.
exactly.
What's that mean? What is-
Awareness,
Okay,
right,
okay.
right.
That's
But
who I really am.
right, but if I'm either aligned with awareness or I'm aligned with the meanness. If I'm aligned with meanness, I think I am the body. I think I am this. If I'm here observing what the character me in relationship to the other characters are doing, then I'm going to be in pain and suffer and judge and attack and whatever. But this is asking us to spend more and more time here where you're observing the insanity of a world that we set up without judging or condemning it.
So we tend to back here.
Pardon me?
The
Well,
observer-
yeah, the observer can't observe this unless it's away from this. Yes, right. Yes, good point.
That's what it, so the perception. um, The degrees, aspects and intervals are going to be seen.
Well, and look at how these all look different. Yeah, you know,
Right,
one's
yeah.
tall, one's short, you know, whatever, you know. Yeah.
Right, so when
They're all the same.
They're really all,
decision maker, right, does that go away? Or you would-
Okay,
or you move it-
good point. Okay, so what happens is the more you spend time here, the more the carpet stops rolling out and eventually will end for you. As you're choosing down here, the carpet just keeps rolling out and rolling out and rolling out and keeps bringing you exactly what you asked for, which is, I want to maintain separation.
Well, down there, according to the Course, we're learning a new way.
Well, absolutely. And we're using
We
what we
use
set up for a
same
different purpose. Sure.
Scenario,
Yep.
but for a different purpose.
Yes,
Good point.
That's how the
Yep.
Holy Spirit interprets what's
exactly.
going on.
Yep. Because originally I set this all up like this
Right.
so that I would be a character in my dream and I would be an innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. Now it's going to take any disturbance of peace that I have in the world and remind me if I'm having a disturbance of peace, it means I've chosen for separation.
Good.
And I can stop and say, okay, show me what truth is. I don't know. In my eyes and my emotions and my feelings and my whatever, my, me is the story is I'm an innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. And if it wasn't for whatever presents itself,
Stop the
I could
story.
not be at peace. And this stops the story. Yeah. So again, when you're observing, you're not the character. Big deal, important.
Looking at what's going on will finally
Show
hit
you.
home. I'm
Yeah.
tired of this shit.
Well, and that's ultimately what's going to make the difference. When
Exactly.
we're tired of being tired of being tired,
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
right?
Yeah.
And my desire to be the character begins to be less important
You got
than
it.
the piece
It's just meaningless.
because it's meaningless. But
The whole
initially,
thing is meaningless,
that's right.
But we're giving it all the meaning
Yeah.
that we think it is.
Yep.
You don't think you can stop it. You don't think there's a way to do that. I think that's a difference between what I used to study and what I study.
Right.
now. You don't have any, you just think it's keep rolling out and you have to jump on one area, the carpet or another, and then roll with it. And so now.
Right,
now there's
right.
this thought where and I've experienced that just lately, just stopping.
Yes, yeah.
Having a concept, not even thinking, help me, just hold the phone. This is, I don't know what this is, what it's doing it again. Oh, no, that's
Yeah,
not it. So it's been very interesting.
Right.
Learn you have another choice.
Right.
That's you.
Right. And be aware, the way this is set up, it looks like there, we got some pink here. That's nice and positive. And then there's the dark people. That's bad. Okay. And so it appears most of the time, and even like the Zen teachings, my understanding is they're always running towards something that's better or running away from something that's negative. Well, you're still in the dream. And that's so important to understand. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. And that doesn't mean that in your life, you're not going to want things that are more comfortable than things that aren't comfortable. But the bottom line is, if I want anything in the dream, I want the dream and I don't want to know what this is.
And you really want to know what it is. So
Hopefully.
something's happening and I want to know, well, what is this? So I had a 4.5-year-old perpetrator yesterday. But a new perpetrator. I mean, just, so just how it affected me was what it had to do with. And so he was, they said he was very tired and very grumpy and very hungry. And I'm like, okay, just hand him over. I think I'm going to work Miracle Hill with him. So he had this game which was a beautiful game. And he's been taught to put it away correctly. And I never dreamed that he would holler at me and say that I made him, he did it wrong. He said, you made me do that. Yeah. He said, you made me do that. And I stopped and I said, I didn't make you do that. And I moved away from him, like physically, I moved away from him. Like it was like I was up in that decision maker. Like he put me right there. The observation put me right there. When he said to me, I was just stunned. He's like, you made me mess that up. I said, I didn't touch it, which I felt like I was going, no, yes, you did. No, we were playing this game. I was defending myself, but I had it, and then I just shut up and I moved away from him. And then he, figured
You
it out.
made the whole thing real for yourself.
Well,
And you were right in it.
thing is that
And the ego loves that.
it's being mirrored in a lot of ways, but he kind of sucked it to me as a.
But I think the beauty of that, and that's so amazing, is here's this 4-year-old, it's your fault.
Little baby.
That's right.
Little baby perpetrator, yes.
Yes.
But I wasn't-
And that's the way this whole world is set up.
Yes,
Yeah.
because he didn't want to say that he was doing it.
Heck no.
Usually, he's at my house when we're doing things, and he listens to me. At his house, he's like in charge, and he gets an attitude. He had this attitude, and then he says, you made me do that. I'm like, what's going on here? And I said, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
That was interesting, but.
Everything out here is part of the dream.
I've been looking for perpetrators all my life, and they're all around.
They're everywhere. Yes,
Put in
yes,
there.
yes.
And whatever, I mean, however you got there, we were there together, so,
Well, you are together.
yes.
And it's your opportunity to forgive.
And I think with the.
That 4-year-old is your gift.
But that's a good gift for me, because I appreciate that children don't have the skills, or they're gonna say things. I don't, a 40-year-old son who's giving.
He's a split off part
With that.
of the same source that
Yep.
you're a split off part of.
Yes.
Yep.
Forget the age. He's it.
Yep. So with this first line, consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation. And understand, we love it.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love nothing more than as many perpetrators around me, and it doesn't, these are bodies, but it doesn't matter if it's the weather or if you drop, blueberries on, right. It doesn't matter what the form of the perpetrator experience is. It is literally anything that can take your peace away.
You got it.
Anything, period. Because if I'm not at peace, I can't know the light.
I must have
Covered
decided wrong.
Over. I must have decided wrongly, and I can choose differently. Yes, Jason.
Yeah, so when we go to the decision maker,
Mhm.
we're stepping outside of consciousness.
That is correct. That
You're
is
not the
correct.
ego anymore.
Right, because you're choosing one or the other.
Watching.
Right.
The only way I know how to do that is to think, I'm not sure what the word is,
Mm.
to think that I'm up here by the right. And getting rid of that film is just looking, or maybe not getting rid of the film, just
Looking at it, yeah.
because
Right.
it's certainly coming from me, well, it seems like it's gonna be coming from Mary Ann.
Mhm.
But I have to just know from this class that there is the observer, there is the film, there is
Right.
the light.
Yeah.
There is the film and there is the light.
Right.
And I just want to think that I'm just trying my hardest to just be up there, just looking
Right.
instead of
Right.
observing. As the
And
course
and
says.
be aware, if I'm aware and I'm, it's, I know exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like, are my eyes back here or are they over here? But the very fact that I'm becoming aware of the game of the ego means I'm already up there, because I couldn't be aware of the insanity if I was completely enmeshed in the ego.
That's the I.
That's the I, of course.
Well, I had a very interesting experience. Can we go back in time again, folks?
Mhm.
Everybody who was in Sunday school. 1998, I was working at Phillips. And I was about to have my first panic attack. And there was a blizzard outside. And there was I was working in the housewares department. And it was a blizzard outside. You could have probably walked the whole second floor at Dillard's and you would have found, well, in my case, you found one customer because she showed up at my counter. But she had a return, and I remember, and I didn't know it, I certainly didn't know what an out-of-body experience was. But all of a sudden, I could just feel myself, something was happening,
Hmm.
and the next thing you know, there's this body sitting standing at the cash register, and I was up here. And I was looking at this body doing the transaction. And I didn't like it because I didn't know anything about it.
Right,
The
it was so
spiritual
foreign,
stuff, I was frightened. Somebody was frightened. So I wanted to be able to connect with that body at the cash register, but I could not.
Yeah.
And then when the customer was finally done, I was still having other sensations. I still couldn't feel my feet touching the floor. I was worried, how was I gonna drive home? Because I couldn't feel the gas pedal or the brake pedal.
Mhm.
All these things, I'm frightened. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
frightened.
Right.
And so eventually I got some feeling back in my feet, and I did drive home that night. But I'll never forget that experience where I was up here and I was watching the body. at
Okay.
the register.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. And I would guess that almost all of us have had some kind of an experience before we came to the course where something like the solidness of the world just did not connect the way the solidness of the world is supposed to connect. And, just as you said, it was terrifying. Well, you think going to the light would be this like, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. But if I'm addicted to this, oh my gosh, that's like, oh, because it's like I am literally out of the world. And the miracle is described as a moment out of time and space where I don't exist. That's not friendly to the ego. It is very helpful to the undoing process, but it's going to take some time to get used to that experience. And because you are, that was a very obvious experience that you had that's really describing this, that you've lived through one of those experiences. And the difference between that experience and this experience.
I know the difference between the body and the real.
And the observance, yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's, sort of tricky with this whole process is we're really asking, praying, showing up at class, trying to figure this all out to diminish the value of what I think I am. That's like, whoo. Yeah, but we can say those words all we want, but the bottom line is we still very much are very attached to and having that experience. So it's a gradual process, not that it has to be, but because we're so attached to the solidness that it's going to take us a while before we feel comfortable having, being totally enmeshed in that experience.
And now that I've had the experience, and what is that? Oh, wait, 18, so like over 25 years.
Right.
it does make everything,
Come together and
understandable.
understand about, right, yeah,
and I've had other experiences.
yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing that, that's, yeah, but that's exactly, and again, we think, oh, yes, light, let's go, but we don't know how you know, it's like there's no walls, there's nothing to hold on to, there's nothing to touch. It's like I'm floating up here, and that's just kind of unsettling when you've spent most of your times, you know, kind of stuck in this little fence here.
People have
Is that imagination?
No, that experience she had was not imagination.
Well, when the coach tells you to rise above the battleground.
Right,
Okay. I mean, where is the mind is not temporal,
right.
you know. It's not like you go to some place.
Well, true, it's not like you're
but
going to
in
some,
order to have the idea of rising above it.
right.
You're sort of imagining.
Well, but there's a difference between sitting here and imagining what that would be like and having an experience that there's no question that this is happening to me and I haven't got a clue what's going on. I'm not imagining it, it's happening, it's an experience that's happening through me. Very different. Right, yeah.
Transcending.
Transcending the dream, yes, yeah.
I think
Well,
that's,
what's transcending the dream? I mean,
It's not.
it's not understandable.
No.
At this level.
No, no,
Right.
exactly.
Is that, when we meditate, I was told to sit down someplace, you know, don't be doing anything trying to, you know, rise above my body. But
Correct.
also the meditation actually does put, you know, my awareness of my body often goes away, not like so that I can't grab it back
Function
right
or
away.
whatever,
You know,
yeah.
there's nothing that I'm
Right.
not in control of, but it puts me in that place where it doesn't matter what my body is doing.
Yep.
That it's not scary.
And if you saw the movie Jim Carrey, Truman Show, you know, and in that movie, there were numerous times throughout his experience where, you know, like the elevators opened and there were cameras. So he knew something wasn't right, but he couldn't put his finger on it until he eventually put all the pieces together and was willing to leave behind what he thought was reality and walk towards what really was reality. But it takes many of those little things before we're really ready to walk fully into that experience because we're so addicted to this. All right. So when we did that to ourselves, I'll read the whole line again. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. The mind here is a creator automatically. God is a creator. He extends his love toward us and we extend our love outward. That's automatic. We don't have to sit here and figure out how that's going to take place. When we chose to cover that over with the belief in separation, we now perceive what is out there. We are no longer extending the love. We've got another, what's the word I want to use? Another plan, okay? Another plan with different rules. And the rules of the separated experience are projection rather than reflection.
Well, there's all symbols of.
Well, of course they're symbols, yes. But with the best way we can explain them is to understand they're two different things, and one is going to perpetuate love, the other one is going to diminish love across the board, no matter how it looks. All right. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. So if you think there's something in consciousness that we can play with, that we're going to say, I'm God now, this is trying to help us understand black and white, not the same. And as Marianne's experience she shared, she was still in the context of a something looking at something else. So it still appeared to be in the context of the physical, but it was beyond anything of the physical that Marianne could conjure up. And that's the reflection within the dream that is now coming from the reflection instead of the projection. All right.
So the gods, which are personifications of some idea,
Right, are all made up.
They're all made up. They're all part of the dream. They're all part of consciousness.
Mhm. And I would say,
And maybe there's a situation where, you have somebody like Jesus, which carries the Holy Spirit, which transcends the dream as a whole.
right,
But as a general rule, they're working with consciousness, right?
no, they're beyond consciousness.
No, not that, yeah.
Okay,
The gods would be personifications of things, so they're
Right.
actually consciousness, they're working with consciousness.
right, yes, because and I wouldn't call those gods personally.
Well, I
Just
mean,
my
throughout
opinion.
history, they'd call
Right,
them
right.
gods and
But,
mythologies
right,
and stuff.
but again, when we heard the description of Jesus, it said he walked in the world, but he knew he wasn't of the world. So things will appear still in the world, but he knew this is what he was. He walked around the world, and the reason he could look at his brothers who were killing him and attacking him and hanging him on the cross is because all he could see was light and love. The film didn't have any effect on him anymore. It didn't matter what has happened to his body. He knew he was love. And as a result, he knew his brothers were all love.
His mind was healed.
Well, exactly.
He
Correct.
wasn't at this level trying to
No,
figure anything out.
No,
He
done.
just knew,
Yes.
and that knew, that's just a word.
But knowing, as the Course describes it. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, when Ken says, see yourself sitting in the theater and watching the play with
Exactly.
Jesus.
Right.
Now, how do you do that?
Okay, well, that would be, this is the film on the screen that you're looking at. Okay, this is my world. I'm looking at all these characters. If I'm here I'm in the theater holding Jesus' hand, I would be sitting next to Jesus looking at the insanity of this story that's not real. And I don't judge it. I don't attack it. I don't fix it. I don't change it. I just realize, oh, look at that.
So that's really taking place in the mind.
That is always taking place, and there's nothing out there.
Nobody out there.
We know,
watching the
right?
play.
We know when we go to the movie theater, my favorite actor is not in the room.
Right.
He's just a projection on the wall, coming from that piece of film that's placed in front of the light. So am I. So is all of the people in my dream.
The film.
They're all part of the film, who is not who we are. And so when Jesus is asking us to forgive our brother, all he's really doing is saying, forgive the piece of film that you put the face of as one of your brothers. Now, understand, within the dream, our brothers are playing a really good part that is very convincing. They get, accolades for the beautiful way of which they can irritate the hell out of this, okay? But the bottom line is they're a piece of film. Why would I get, why? Well, yeah, and so am I. Why would I get mad at a piece of film?
Right.
Only because I believe it's real. I don't believe it's a piece of film put in front of a light. Okay? I think real. This and whatever, we'll talk about that later. But, and especially I think me is real.
Now, when Jason asked you that question about the gods, he said something about back in history. So the same thing, you're making the dream real,
Well, of course.
because there is
yeah,
no history.
Right.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
past, yeah.
Yeah. But
So
I
we
mean,
see all
and
the-
we get caught up in the conversations all the time because we're still sitting in this, I think I'm me.
Well,
And
we're
if-
reliving them,
And we're reliving the past over and over and
And
over and
really
over. Yeah.
choosing.
Yes.
If you
And
choose to do that.
correct. And every time you catch yourself, you're removing a little piece of your dream. So it can't come up and disrupt your peace again. And if you ever saw the slide projectors, they're in a carousel, okay? And if the picture that's in front of the light from the carousel is projecting on the screen and you get, this isn't real, you take that one out. So the carousel will continue to go around. There's still lots of slides in there, but that one won't get you anymore because you've healed from that one. And the goal is to eventually heal from all of them because none of it's real.
When you come to the place where you realize that's a dream and so am I.
Well, and would be the
And you-
result of
and
that.
then you don't get caught up
Why
in the
would,
nightmare.
why would I be affected by something that I knew wasn't
That's a
real?
dream.
Wouldn't happen.
You still think it is.
And because you still think it
Yeah, you
is,
still think it is,
right.
and that's your safety
And-
valve or your.
right,
security
that's-
blanket
yeah.
Of how do I get from point A to point B today?
You got a question?
Yes.
Yeah, but let me answer something she said. What was I gonna say? Say what you said again, Andrea? And I,
Because that's what you're thinking today, and that's why you can't.
right,
You're
right.
thinking that today, and you can't, in your mind, it's a security.
It is a
system.
security
You
blanket,
can't, in your mind, you can't go from point A to point B.
right? Because this is,
You can't move along any other
Too much.
continuum but that one, and the carpeted time is, hope it's a flush
Yep.
carpet.
yeah. And because we're not ready for that. We're, like we're used, this is my whole life. I don't want to be here. And that experience that Mary Ann shared, if that had continued, you probably would have exploded because you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to pull that in to make sense of it. So it was a flash for 2 minutes or however long it lasted, and then it went away. But in your mind, you remember that experience like it was right in front of you.
Yeah, I would say the part where I couldn't connect with the body was with the customer right there was probably more like 4 or 5 minutes. But
Okay.
then it didn't happen.
Right, it continued, yep.
That's my body, I couldn't feel, so it didn't end.
Right, right.
For a while.
Cool.
And we can look at that and say, wow, that was cool. And it is, but when you're going through it, especially if you don't have the context of the understanding of it, it's like terrifying.
And plus I had so many other medical issues.
Okay, that were
Like, I
going,
was
right.
Frightened, just frightened.
Right.
There's a lot of people get that. My mother had that when she was getting operated on.
Mhm.
She didn't believe in
Any of this stuff, yeah.
anything.
right.
And she was a real
Yeah.
pragmatist,
Right.
but she saw the doctor operating on her and all that stuff from
Mhm.
up in the
Yeah.
corner.
And many people that have had near-death experiences will explain the same kind of a situation, yeah.
When we say mind,
Yep.
we're referring to the mind of the Son of God, right?
Well, yes, but there's 2 aspects of the mind of the Son of God. There's the little m mind that believes this. Oops.
That's the one.
It's falling. Yeah, right. See how quickly life changes? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. A little thing going on here. Okay, so there's the big M mind that identifies with this, and there's the little m mind that believes in separation that is this.
But when we say mind, we're referring to the mind of. the
No,
Son of God.
it depends on which one of these he's identified with.
That mind is
Yeah,
choosing.
there's identification, but I mean, when we
Right.
just we use the word mind a lot.
And it doesn't have anything to do with the thing
No.
that's sitting in my head,
No.
okay? It has to do with which one of these parts is my mind identifying with.
Is that equivalent to the decision maker though?
Well, I would say the decision maker is, like in a board game, if you've got a little pointer, it's the pointer that points to one or the other at any given
Yeah,
time.
That's his only choices.
So
They can leave the
if
decision.
it's pointing over here, I'm aligned with who I am. And that's, how do I point to here? I say, help, I don't know, help, show me who I really am.
Now, that's the biggest plus
Right, of
that
course,
we have,
right.
because honest to God, I agree with you, where the hell is this mind? There is no,
Where is it?
where is it? So
Yeah,
you're still in the body,
Where's that, right?
trying
There's
to
nothing.
get beyond the body
right.
Press pause.
as such. And the only, like Jesus does give us principles to follow,
Mhm.
which will help us, even though we are illusions.
Correct,
You
right, but he,
know, the rules for decision, when you get back to number 7
Yeah.
and you realize he's telling you, you got a choice now, buddy.
yep,
What do you have to lose? Your way hasn't worked very well for you. But
absolutely.
that's all coming from this,
Mhm.
actually, this is really somewhere in the mind.
Yes, and when,
Harvey would never come up with that.
correct, and what's happening is, this is the light, this is the film, and we start to go like this. And the light starts to reflect into the world, and in this particular case, it's called a blue book called A Course in Miracles. And I get the book and say, oh, look at all the great information in here, I better read this. But
And
it's
that's the
really
thing, too.
coming from the reflection of a part of my mind that's not as deeply enmeshed in the belief in the film.
Somehow,
Somehow.
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
I don't know, but somehow.
Yeah.
It came through,
Exactly.
it really,
It's
you know, I've told you
exactly-
stories in
Mhm.
AA,
Yep,
somehow,
it's
cause
happening.
I didn't do anything.
I hear you. I hear you.
It's the cracking.
Before the course even came along. One
Exactly,
night,
Yep.
it came along and says, I surrender. I
exactly.
give up, I have no
Right.
more answers.
Yeah.
Now, shit, this guy never would have thought of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is those moments where I finally go,
That's
Help.
it.
that bring you to the place of, okay, this is my experience, but I'm willing to find out what this is. And it may only be a second, and then you come back, but each time you leave and come back, this starts to break down and become less solid, and this starts to grow in your awareness.
Well, who's
I mean-
putting the film over the light?
The Son of God who believes he's separate. Because
Is-
before that,
Is that the dreamer?
that's the dreamer. That would be the Son of God having a dream of
Thinks he's-
exiles.
He
Yeah,
thinks he's a decision maker
correct.
now.
But you could have any experience, like just sitting by a stream and.
And have
you know,
that light.
absolutely
Yeah,
Go right through the,
exactly.
you know, split the dream.
Yeah,
So
Absolutely.
Be right through the dream.
But you don't know where the hell it came from.
No, you don't know where it came from, but I'm
Correct.
just saying,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter what
No.
happened or what you're doing or anything
No.
else like that.
Absolutely not.
absolutely. Yeah.
Probably about willingness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's about willingness. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't necessarily mean that you're sitting by that babbling brook and having the willingness at that moment. As you continue to have willingnesses every time you practice what the Course is saying, you're building up the trust and love. And then one moment it just kind of shows you and it's like, whoa, I'll take a little more of that, please. Right. But the deal is, the more you choose for the light instead of this, the more you are eventually going to have the reflection of light. It's automatic. And the Course specifically states that if you ask for healing, which is basically this, it won't necessarily reflect into your world at that moment, because your level of fear may be too much for you to take it in without having it cause you more fear. But as you keep accumulating it, you know, or what do they call the pump? Prime the pump. As you keep priming the pump, you're doing what you're being asked to do over and over and over and over. And one time, start
Yeah.
spitting out. Yeah. And that's what we're working on. But understand that every single time you asked in earnest, help, I want to see this differently, you are dissipating this, and this is growing
That's the
That's
only
what
thing.
happens.
in your awareness.
You know, I just.
Absolutely. Right.
We have.
That's all we have.
Sequence
Really?
of events.
Yep.
It was an expression in a song of the Moody Blues.
Mhm.
You got to make the journey out and in. And I remember the first time I meditated, I felt a sense of my body not
Mhm.
being all there
Right.
was. I mean, I guess I had felt that before, but
Right.
it was a conscious effort to relax my body.
Right.
It was not comfortable.
Right.
And I think that I've read a few things in different places about people when they meditate, or even people talking, like when they're thinking of something specific or something from the past, some kind of way to connect with spirit. And often they'll look up like this, like their body language will portray what's happening to them. Their body is not engaged in those certain things. Or that I remember my cousin doing that meditation, being totally freaked out, telling me that her feet fell asleep. And I thought, well, dang, your feet they really need a rest. Maybe you should do it again. You know, but she was
Yeah.
so overwhelmed by the idea. And so
Yeah.
she didn't have that experience of how you know, how
Right.
that just that basic level of being in the body and then not being in the body.
Right.
Because we
Right.
travel, I was told we travel all the time.
Sure,
In those places, which is really spooky if you talk about it, but
Mm,
when you experience it, it's very nice.
It's a whole, yeah,
If,
yeah,
if you're,
It-
if you're aware of it.
right.
Or if you're not, you know, blown away by it, I guess.
Or you can't even explain it.
Or you can't
Just
explain it, yeah.
accept
yeah.
What is.
And again, the concept of, I don't know what brought this on, it wasn't me,
That's exactly.
comes forth. And I think, you know, again, a lot of times people talk about meditation, which can be very helpful to help settle you, but literally every moment of the day, I have an opportunity to do this, which will allow this to come forth. I don't need to have that, you know, not that there's anything wrong with meditation, because there's not, it's great. But I have every moment that I'm not at peace to choose for this,
If we allow it.
if we allow it, yeah.
And you see that your body is not as important as the other thing happening. So
Exactly,
that's the
because your
difference.
body starts to take the background instead of the foreground of the choice for love.
It's just there like the wit, it's just there doing like you say, like,
It's nothing.
well, you'll be in the body, but not.
Not of the
Okay.
body.
Control
It's
the
absolutely
functions
nothing.
of the body.
Yes. Versus me being in control, figuring it out, trying to decide what's right and wrong. I think I know, and I don't.
And that's the downfall.
That's the
That's
downfall.
what we're fighting all day long when we think, would you rather be right or happy?
Mhm.
And if we're really honest, we want to be right.
Most of the time, yeah.
And so
And-
what is then in that situation then, where does the fear come from? You're scared, you become scared.
It's the separation.
I feel with my family, that my sister had an out of body experience which she has not recovered from, and she is not, she just doesn't want to, I mean, I think that's the downside of it, is it,
Right.
if you're not
If you're not
you
prepared
don't
for
know
it.
what you're talking about, or you think there is no such thing, you don't want to hear about how that is, then you're gonna suffer, and it's.
Well,
it's
yes,
to deal- to
right.
Get with that.
And the deal with that is I'm addicted to this. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is really not my friend.
Yeah.
And I often say, these are like two football games or two football teams that are in opposition to each other. If I'm identified with this, this is not my friend.
This is all we know.
This is the opposite.
It's
Yes.
the loss of control.
Well, it's a loss of control. It's a loss of identity. It's a loss of thinking I know anything. It's a huge loss. And and again, Jesus is saying, all I'm asking is for this moment.
An instant.
I don't have to go like this forever. It's one moment where I stop and say, wait a minute, show me another way. And then I'm going to be right back where I was. And then the next time I'm so miserable, I can't stand it. It'll be like, okay, help.
But that's a phrase, that's not your friend.
That is not
Yeah.
your friend. They're opposites. Yes, yes. And it talks about the idea when we chose to separate from God, we attacked God. We made God our enemy. God did not look at us that way, but that's what we did to
Yeah,
him.
we're told we were dreaming.
Well, when you realize you're dreaming, it's a whole nother
That's
storyline.
right. That's when you took it serious.
Well, yeah, because the first choice was I thought I had the thought, and then he gave us the answer, which is nothing
Okay.
happened. And we said, I don't trust that dude. I think I better take on, doing this myself. And so we did. And as a result, everything since then has been an aspect of duality, separation, judgment, attack, guilt, sin, and fear. And there is no room for love there. That love does not live in that space. And so we walk through the world doing our best to manipulate, fix it, change it, get those people to agree with us or whatever it requires so that I can find that place of peace and think of God from a place differently than
That's
what he
why
really
it's
is.
Well,
He sure does.
to live by.
He
And if
sure
you live by
does.
him, you stand a chance.
We have at least another possibility. Yeah.
Absolutely. You finally do get to that place.
Yeah.
The fourth
Obstacle.
rule is, if I can't choose for God, at least I can feel I don't like the way I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Very
not
sweet.
difficult.
No. And maybe I'd like another way of feeling, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yep.
all of that type of thing. Throughout the whole book, he tells us, you don't know
Absolutely.
what the hell anything is
That's right.
for. Nothing.
Mm.
You're wrong all the time.
Which is not really comforting when you walk in the course.
No, but if you don't like the way you feel, you want to feel better. And
Right. When that overrides all the rest of it, then yes,
yes,
no question.
Or you feel that you're not worthy of that, or you're not entitled to that because you have a whole nother thought.
yeah,
system
but
in
you
front of
begin listening. You listen to them.
If you can, you know.
But there's a lot of people that are doing this, saying,
Yes.
my life is
Well,
miserable, my
you
life
know,
is
don't-
terrible, leave
Don't
me
set a
alone.
goal
Yeah.
of wanting peace
Right.
because you'll be disappointed.
You
Set a
will.
goal of realizing how much you don't want peace.
Yep.
And then you'll progress.
Because quite literally, if I have anything in the dream that I'm upset, irritated, want to change, make different, or anything else, I believe this is real. And I don't want this, I want this.
That's exactly right.
And I don't like that any more than you do, but
Well,
that's
but
the facts of this
it's honest.
storyline. It's honest, yeah.
It's a very good, what is that? A way of, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. This has been kind of like formulating in my brain for months and I couldn't quite figure out how to do it. So there we are. All right, I think we'll take a break and we'll come back and play some more.
How come-
Scared them away, right? All right, so we're still in paragraph 2, line 3. All right, the ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. And note the words wish to be. We don't want to be the light. We want to be the separated individual, I'm special me. Okay, so it's an understanding unequivocally that God didn't do this to me. This is the wish that we had in opposition to God, and he didn't kick us out. And apparently in the Bible, some of the beginning chapters, it literally says that, we got kicked out of heaven. Not only that we got kicked out, but then he put these angels on all 4 corners so that we could never come back. Okay, I'm not knocking those stories, but that's a different story than what the Course has to offer. So the ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are.
That's why I'm responsible for what I see.
That's why I'm responsible. And the turnaround from that is, okay, I realize I'm playing this game and I don't want to play this game anymore. Now I can choose differently. And when I choose for this, this goes away. Just like when I choose for this appears to go away. It doesn't really go away. It's just covered over by the belief in the separated state.
Now, I just wanted to interject.
Yes,
Because when we talk about going through our daily life
yes,
and how often or how little we shift to the Holy Spirit.
right, yeah.
I ran across a line very similar to this one, that's
Mhm.
the ego being a wrong-minded attempt to be as you wish to be, rather than you really are. There's another line that says, the you. So I was taking it personally.
Right.
I'm the only one here.
Of course. And I'm the special one that's here, the hero of the dream. Go for it, Mary.
So everything is to prove that your illusions about yourself are real.
Correct. Yeah.
And that hit me
Yeah.
because I'm going through all my days trying to prove that this illusion is real. And I was mostly perceiving it as being a victim.
Mhm.
I'm stuck here. These other people are all doing this one. But then
Exactly.
I read that, I said, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm being upset because I'm trying to prove that this is real.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
found that real helpful
Yeah.
because then it makes it easier. I don't really want to prove that it's real.
Right, right. And then eventually we come to the awareness that that's not a value to me any longer.
Yeah, and
But-
like you said,
right.
that little thing is not my friend.
Oh, no, not my friend at all. Not if I want peace and oneness. Now, if I want to be separate and individual and different, it's perfect. But when I really just want peace and love, then I gotta, relinquish this to find this out. But as long as this overrides this, oh, no, we don't want this at all. Now, this doesn't go anywhere. It's still there. I don't harm it. I don't change it. I don't manipulate it. It's constant, but I do cover it over and I accept this as my reality instead of this.
But you're, um, when you get a taste of the light and you feel, and you understand what peace is and how when you are not totally engrossed in your body anymore, but your mind is allowed to ask more questions about that, then you become more of a conduit for it.
Correct.
Because if you were having a problem before and you get a nice little rounded answer like, oh, where did that come from? Then you're more bound to, as you continue, it's not that you have to work at it even anymore. You just finally know. There's a knowing in you that I go to that place inside of myself,
Right.
and I'm free.
Yep.
And if I want to think about stuff, I can go back to that place inside of myself and ask. And so that's, I guess, has been a conduit for me through meditation, because I could feel the energy of freedom, meaning peace and quiet and peace. And now it's connected with this course to the point where it's just okay, I don't have to think about it. I just emotionally, I'm expanding on something, or I'm sitting quiet, or something happens, and I feel myself go immediately physically to that place inside of me. And that's what meditation, that's the core of that, is that you don't have to keep practicing it like it's something that's hard to do when you're not just playing the scales on the piano anymore. You're actually playing the music. And so then you keep going to that place, and that's the fountain of like this stuff that you're looking for. And so it's not as hard as it sounds from the book once you get going.
Right. And I think the more that we do it, the more that we begin to trust that it's doing what it's saying it's going to do. And I start to see the reflection of love more and more expressed in my life, then I want to choose more frequently.
Because initially you want to know what
exactly.
What is it doing for me? I mean, that's a good bargaining thing. Like that's
right.
So they big bargain
Sure.
for reality. You're going to give you this much time and money, and what am I going to get out of it?
Exactly.
And so you just have to trust, and especially with spirit, you just start to trust at that level, and then it comes along. It starts to shape you in ways that you have never thought about. But also, it's giving you peace. It may not look like peace every minute, and sometimes things are going to pop up, but your proclivity to go back to peace is very strong.
Much more.
And you can't, you won't ever ignore it or disregard it anymore, because it is giving you something. And I think it's our thinking, our way of thinking in our culture is that we have to get something for our bucks.
Of course.
However much, meditation costs, whatever, that was going to be like, okay, let's see, is this going to pay off in what way? And you won't know until you are having a different experience than the one you were having before.
Yep. All right. Yet you cannot know yourself only as you are, because that is all you can be sure of. So the only way I'm really ever going to know myself is when I choose for this. This is not who I am. This is who I have accepted as my experience of being, which while I'm choosing it, I have the effect of it being real, but it will never be real. It's not. It can't be, because this is the only reality. And of course, we'll talk about it. It appears that there's two choices, but there's really only one, because this is the only one that's real. And, as Larry was saying, that one quote has similar ones throughout the course. Well, this course is what is true, what is false is false. There's, we're done, all finished. But because I think this is true, I think this is my experience, I think this is my body in relationship to those other bodies, and I'm right and they're wrong, I believe this overrides this. And as long as I do that, that's the effect I'm going to have in the world. But when I really want just peace and love, I don't care if I'm right or wrong, or if I prove somebody, is a stupid person, or whatever it may be, the wonderful things we always do to our brothers. I stop and go, I don't care if it's my brother or me, I want this. Larry, did you have something?
Mary, yeah, isn't that the part of that metaphysics of the course that when the decision maker made the decision to separate,
Mhm.
that immediately it forgot that it decided to do that?
Oh, yeah. And then we drew the line here that says, I don't remember that going on. Then we were here and then eventually solved the problem by projecting it into the world. And then we drew another line that says, I don't remember that I'm the one that set this story up. Yeah. So the course kind of like, pulls us out of the layers, showing us which each layer was and why we did it and what it's providing us. None of which will take us back to peace until we relinquish all the layers we set up. And again, when we pop into the world, I'm an innocent victim. Duh. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask these parents. I didn't ask them to be mean to me, whatever it may be. And don't they understand what's important for me? Me. And it's always about me. And then you're looking for somebody in the world to tell you, you're good, you're wonderful, you're terrific. Well, they can't. They don't believe that anymore about themselves than they do of you. In the honeymoon, oh yeah, here's some flowers and some candy and isn't everything wonderful, which is fine. But eventually they cannot provide you what God can provide you. They don't have it. It's not personal.
And the ego's gonna ship you back and forth, that's because it's our
Mhm.
stronghold, like,
Mhm.
so you
And-
get shipped
yep.
back and forth between them.
Yeah.
And then to experience something where you're allowed to relax into a space and be quiet as long as you want to,
Yep.
then it's going to prove to you that there's another reality.
There's something other
Yeah,
than what
and
you're
gonna-
trying to
then
get.
you're gonna
Yeah.
know. And it's so personal. You have to, if you
Yep.
want to know, you're gonna know. But if
Yep.
then you get tired and then, oh, never mind, I'm not gonna, but
Right.
anyway, it's just, there's a crack in the
Right.
ceiling, and the
Yep.
stuff's coming through.
Yep. And the course has a delightful line. Another body could be found. This one doesn't work out the way I thought it should. We'll find another one. And that surely would be the one. And for some people, that may look like, 10 different people or however, it doesn't matter. Whether you stay and you work on it or you leave back and forth and back and forth, it's all the same because what I see out in the world again, is coming from my mind, okay? Not Mary Ann's mind, from the mind of the separated son. And so what gets seen on the screen is coming from the film of the separated concept. And it's always going to be a story about separation, because that's the only story the ego has. And
You
it's
get an Academy Award in that.
it gets an Academy Award over, and I mean, there aren't enough medals for the quality of this acting, right? And it's never true. It's always a lie, because this is the only truth there is. Okay, so everything else is open to question. So when you're choosing for the ego, you're never certain, you're never clear, you're never coming from a place of knowing, you're coming from a place of lack and limitation, of which you have, I always like to think of it as you're watching a baseball game go on through this little tiny crack in the fence, and you're trying to piece it all together. Well, that's what we're always doing. We're trying to piece together these limited pieces and parts and make a whole that we can't make because we don't have the wherewithal to know everything. And is one of my favorite lines in the course where Jesus says, in order to judge how does he say it? It's not that you can't judge your brother, it's that it's impossible to judge your brother, because you couldn't judge your brother unless you knew absolutely everything from the past and the future and everything else. Well, we don't have that capability. He does, I don't. But watch us go. Smile when you do it. Go, there I go again. See, I think I know. Yep. All right, so paragraph 3, the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and can't be perceived. The mind is therefore confused because only the one-mindedness can be without confusion. A separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects strangers to each other's, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible. And I'm going to stop there. Okay, so the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self. And, we were sort of joking with Jason because he asked a question. And literally all questions of the ego are proof to me that the ego is real. And the only real answer to everything is nothing happened and it's not real. But we, in the separated state, don't want to know that. We want to know, how do I manipulate, fix, and change the world so it is more appealing to me? Do we say, just show me who I am? No, show me how to fix this problem, God. And what we're really doing with that is we're saying, God, come down here, fix my little world so I'll be safe to stay here another day. And he said, what world, what you, what problem?
That's the whole way of looking at God through the that's the whole way I was taught to. When
Of
things
course,
were
we
going
all
wrong,
were.
ask God, help me. Why is this? Why me? All those kind of questions. And they have whole societies and organizations around finding your speaking to your higher power. Where is it?
Yep, exactly. And I would say in the progression to come to the place where you are even slightly ready for what the course is offering, you probably will go through all of those stages of trying to manipulate and figure it out in a seemingly spiritual manner until you finally kind of cut down the possibility of all the things that the world offers, and then you finally come with totally empty hands. And you can't be willing to come to that unless you have tried it all on your own. Or for most people, that's the way it gets played out anyways. All right, so again, the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self. So the ego is constantly questioning after the separation appeared to take place, which was made rather than created. And he's one more time very specifically stating the concept of anything that took place after the separation is what the Son of God made versus what God created. And creation comes from this. Making comes from this. Okay, so if we're, with the image of the projection of the slide, it's what we're making in the world. Yeah. And this is the answer, which is just what was created, of which when I align with this, I will automatically reflect that love, which is what the Course would call our creations. And it has nothing to do with the physical attributes of being an artist or a musician or whatever. Although if that musician, much like Jesus, got out of the way and only expressed through the love of God, you could hear that music or you could hear that expression in the or see that expression in the world. But it's not coming from the world, it's coming from the shift of the mind that is taking place. So it's a tricky situation because just like the projection in the world is not really there, we all experience it as being there. And when we have the reflection of truth, because we still believe we're in the illusion, it will appear to reflect within the illusion, but it's really always coming from the mind. So that's a lot to wrap our heads around. All right. It is capable of asking questions, but not perceiving meaningful answers because the ego doesn't really want the answer. The ego wants to perpetuate itself because when it makes things, making is always about perpetuating what it is. So it wants more of what it has. And it's only when we finally stop and go, nope, that's not where I want to go anymore. I want to know who I am. All right, so it is capable of asking questions, but not perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. Okay, so knowledge lives. Oh no, don't you be doing that. Knowledge lives here. Knowledge does not live here. One or the other. Knowledge here, that here. So if the ego is trying to stay separated and get the answers, it will never happen. I have to relinquish my control in order for the light and truth to come forward. All right. And, just think about all the questions, from the time, Andrea was talking about her little perpetrator earlier. What do kids do? Why is the sky blue? Tell me why the grass is green. Tell me this, tell me that. Why? And we're just we're just little people in grown-up bodies asking the same questions. Even down to how is it possible that we separated? That's one I think all of us have asked. And the answer to that is separation is not real. So it didn't happen. I don't want to know that. I want to stay in the separated state and have God come and tell me how it happened. Not happening.
We could blame him some more.
You could blame them some more. Yeah, we want to remain in the belief and the reality of it and have answers that will support that. And that can't happen because it didn't happen. So I know for a lot of people, that's a hard concept to grasp. So anytime you're praying for God to come and fix anything or bring you an answer here is really perpetuating your position here. It's only when I drop the story and I say, okay, show me who I am, that I can possibly have an answer that will result in a different effect, because I am now asking a different question. I'm not asking, how do I fix what the problem is? I'm asking, I want to know there is no problem. Very different.
You say now who I am. Now who am I?
Now who am I? Which means I have no interpretation of what I think I am. I come with totally empty hands. I don't know. Then he can fill it up. As long as I come with, I think this and I think that, and why shouldn't we do this? And why should we? There's no room for him to come and fill that space.
Fairly to say in the beginning, only to be truly helpful.
Absolutely.
Well, what is truly helpful? Truly helpful is, according to the Course, the purpose of all of us as the miracle worker is to accept the atonement.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Exactly. Absolutely right on. Yes. Yeah. But, and I would also say, to be gentle with ourselves as an identified ego, because initially when we walk in the door, all of that is over our head. As we begin to understand it, we hear it over and over, we start to take it in on a very different level. And then even though I can't live it 24 hours a day, at least I know where I'm walking. And so that becomes a whole different experience.
Then what part of the cliff should I jump off?
Yeah, right. Or why doesn't somebody, make flat land so I don't have to jump? Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways the ego part of us can manipulate to perpetuate the storyline.
I think the thing that comes to my mind first is drop the past or drop the storyline. But it's also something more.
It's something more because there isn't a me that has a thought that could believe there's anything.
So when we're saying nothing happened, we're saying
There's no world.
We're saying I'm right.
Nothing happened.
Right. Nothing happened nothing happened within the illusion. Only truth is true. That's all there is. And that's a big erase. Yeah. From where we're sitting. In truth, it's not a big erase, but because of my immense investment in this being my reality, that's real scary.
So when we talk about it in terms of forgiveness or
yes,
nothing happened, like coming to a situation without looking at the past
or the future,
or the future, that's kind of just like it's another way of using the same concept, but when you look at it in this magnified way, it's just the light.
It's
We
just the
practice
light.
that by
Right.
forgiving.
Well, and understand the word forgiveness means nothing happened.
That's right. That's the
Okay,
way I-
it doesn't mean there's an idiot over here and I'm a good little course student and I'm gonna be nice to them and that's forgiving them. No,
But does it mean when I go to someone that I, oh, they wronged me, they stir my peace, I'm upset with them, they did something wrong. But in order to forgive them, I just go, nothing really happened, let's start over.
well, I would say even before you come to that step, be very aware that that you're really coming from a place of I'm ready to come to nothing happened. Because if you're still fuming,
Yeah.
there's a real good chance you're not really opening to that with empty hands. So really sit with the energy and the experience of what it is you are going through. And then eventually you will, with great openness, say, I don't want to play in that game anymore. Show me who I am. And then that will expose the answer that was always there, which means at that moment you said, you know, he's not an idiot anymore. You said, this doesn't exist. This does. Very different than the average way of looking at forgiveness.
But on the rest of that, I guess.
On the road,
Yeah.
on the road again.
So when I have that feeling of non-forgiveness or anger
Mhm.
or upset, my only recourse is to ask the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
Help me with this. I don't, what do you mean? I mean, I guess to sit just with that one thought, you know, no, this isn't real. Well, come on now, like, I think so. And then, you know, every part of it is real. The way they, you know, the way they smirked and the way they put their hands up and the way.
Made that,
every part of
whatever,
it is-
yeah.
Every part of what's happening,
matter.
it feels real.
Absolutely.
And so my only recourse in any incident of thinking that I'm angry and I don't even think I need to forgive anybody. I'm just angry and I don't like how that feels. And I'll say, you know, help me to see this through yours because I'm ready to, you know, and I wouldn't do fisticuffs, but I sure do a lot in my head over it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's really the only recourse until we get a clue that this isn't real in that way by just sitting with it and like I don't know why it's not real. You know, that just I mean, I guess I was talking to Larry a little bit about having gone to this course quite a few times in the past and think when people were saying that they were out of their minds, it was illusion. It was like, well, so you might think so. And they would kind of lord it over me. Like, it's just an illusion. Like, stop thinking that. But that was what I guess what they were supposed to say was not say anything to me, but I didn't know, you know, what they were talking about. But that's where that's the part that's hard because it seems absolutely, that's crazy. You know, and the whole world takes that position.
Sure.
So there you are, like sitting there saying things or feeling things and thinks you're off the wall.
Yep. And the course is very much explaining to us to start with where you are. This is not about spiritual specialness. Oh, I'm studying the course. I really like that person, even though I want to go over and claw their eyes out. How dare they say this to me or do this to me? Sit with where you are. That's the truth of the experience of what you chose. And then when you can come to the place where you can clear that away a bit, show me who I am and show me who my brother is, because my brother is not the idiot that I projected him to be. That's part of the film that covers up, guess what? The love that's behind it. But I want this to cover this because I'm afraid of this. But each time I have that little willingness, I'm leaving a little space open where the light can start to show up. And I might go like this and then come back because I'm too afraid of the light, like the story Mary Ann's here. Whoa, that's pretty overwhelming if you're not accustomed to that way of being in the world. But as I become aware that this is not offering me anything I want anymore, this will continue to perpetuate separation, you know, suffering, pain, guilt, sin, and fear. When I get tired of playing that game, I'm going to be much more willing to choose for this. But you can't force yourself to come to the point where you're able to do that. And in the initial steps, he's asking us to look at where you are. Don't judge it. Don't attack it. Simply realize I've chosen to separate because I'm afraid of the love of God. And I think the ego is always wants us to get ahead of ourselves. I'm there, but I'm not really there. I really want to claw their eyes out. That's the facts of this moment. And
Anger is separation.
oh, big time.
You're feeling separate, you're feeling upset because you're angry.
Mhm. Right.
It's
Yep.
hard, you want it to be somebody else's deal.
And
Totally.
also look at how then you feel guilty because you're a good little Christian person that's not supposed to get angry. Jesus wants you to use this. This is good clay we're playing with. He wants you to observe it, but not judge it. Because if you observe it and not judge it, you're looking at what the ego set up, but you're no longer feeding it. See, the ego says, okay, be a good little girl on planet Earth here. Don't be mean. Don't be nasty. Be nice all the time. And then it's impossible for that to happen because we're egos. So we eventually attack our brother. And then we feel guilty because we attacked our brother. Well, talk about, recycling. We got it all covered here. So when I can observe myself attacking my brother from here, and without judgment or condemnation, which I know takes a while for us to practice to get to the point where I can actually do that, then I'm observing the insanity of the ego, but I'm not perpetuating it by feeling guilty for what I did. It just happened. Oh, well.
I had a good experience to demonstrate that Wednesday night. Debbie, the redhead came to
Sure.
Christmas party. She had me over and another guy and another friend of hers. Well, all three of them are Christians, so we're playing this game called Rummy Cube and having some cake and ice cream because I got a birthday coming up. And they started talking about yoga. The
Right.
other guy started talking about yoga, how it's a bad thing.
No, right.
Chanting's a bad thing. And I'm thinking, you guys are nuts. They're being programmed by their minister that anything's not in the Bible, so how bad?
Bad.
So I found myself at this point rejecting all of them. So I did catch myself that I didn't like it, and I didn't like what they were saying. So I just made a prayer, let me see these brothers or let me know these brothers as I know myself.
Beautiful. And when we can do that in the midst of an experience where I'm judging and attacking and, get them out of the way because they're not believing what I believe and come to the place of, I don't know. Okay. I don't know. You show me how I can love my brother. Because right now we're not connecting at all. We're like magnets going the opposite direction. Yeah. And when we can start to come to being in the midst of an insanity and have the wherewithal to choose differently, that's great, great place to be. Now, eventually we won't even get pulled in, but in the progression to get to the point where I don't get pulled in, becoming aware is huge. Yeah. Cool. Keep up the good work. All right. All right, line 3, the mind is therefore confused because only one-mindedness can be without confusion. So in duality or two-mindedness, there's always going to be confusion. There's always going to be conflict. You're always going to go to the party and you're going to see somebody that you don't agree with, and vice versa. And on the level of the ego, we love that. That's meat for perpetuating the illusion. I can say there, I want to be around people that all agree with me. But the truth is, I really want that perpetrator or that perpetratorial experience so that I have a good reason to point a finger and attack and judge my brother. A separated or divided mind must be confused. End of story. And so what we're asked to do is look at how confused I am. Think about even trying to make a decision. Let's say you're changing jobs. How we compulse over which one of these two jobs is the right one for me. And we'd go through the list of, oh, well, it's closer to home and it's this and it's that and whatever. And the answer is, it doesn't matter which one you choose. What matters is to choose the one that you can choose the best, but take the Holy Spirit with you with whichever one you choose. And that's totally different because it really doesn't matter which one you choose because they're both part of the illusion. But if you keep bringing the Holy Spirit with you as you walk through your daily experiences with whatever job you chose, you're going like this more and more frequently. But it has to be a choice to have your mind healed instead of, perpetuating the illusion. And of course, the ego is all about, let's find ways to get you hooked so you forget. And you're playing in the party of, oh, no, I'm right, they're wrong, and so on.
Yeah, bring all those people, you don't agree with, and let's see how you like that.
Mhm. So again, a separated mind or a divided mind must be confused. So if you look at the world as we set it up, you are always going to be confused. You're always going to experience some form of guilt, sin, and fear, separation, anxiety, irritation, upset, loneliness, you name it. It's coming with the package we bought called the separated state. And a lot of the courses, concepts, and development are understanding what we set up so that we can look back and go, it's not working for me anymore. I want to try something different here. He keeps promising me that his way of doing it is way better than mine, and I know mine's not working very well. Then I'm going to be more willing to choose in the midst of an insane situation.
Not socially acceptable, I guess that's.
Well,
Or is it
but keep remembering they crucified Jesus because he wasn't socially accepted
Yeah.
within the illusion of the time.
That's a reason for me to keep my mouth shut about things. With people who are, that I think are not socially acceptable.
But again, this is an internal job. You can say or not say anything on the outside, but the most important thing is my mind shifting on the inside? So, you can walk through life and keep changing your mind all over the place, and nobody else knows what's going on in my mind. Yep. All right. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. Well, the Son of God doesn't know who he is. He believes he's separated. He believes all the rules and regulations of the separated experience. And we're confused. And we will continue to be confused, and life will continue to unfold in less than peaceful manner because that's the choice that's been made. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. Be aware that not only this represents God, this represents me, because I'm the extension or the creation of God. When we covered it over, we forgot who God was, we forgot who our brother was, and we forgot who we are. And when I'm here, all three of those are going to be in the same box. When I choose for this, I will see everybody as aligned with oneness. So again, if you see, a lot of people will go to church every Sunday and be good little seemingly Christian people, and they hate the person next door. This course would say, you don't love God, you don't love your brother, and you don't love yourself. Because how I see each one of those is how I see the others. And the only place I can truly come from love is when I align with this.
And those are the people who are the most brokenhearted by the way it feels to them.
Right.
They're the ones who think they're putting all their eggs in the basket of the Holy Spirit, and they're just moving the things around. They're not really
Yep.
getting they're not, to them, the truth is not available.
Correct.
But it's critical to be authentic to yourself,
Very much so.
not
Yeah.
to other people necessarily,
Right.
but to yourself. And we deceive ourselves all the time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And again, the course is not saying push it under the carpet. It's not saying pretend you want to love God or be aligned with God. Look at what your experience in this moment. If it's the slightest irritation, you wanted the ego and you got it. Now, that doesn't mean I have to stay there, but I have to become aware this is what was chosen because this is the experience I'm having. And that, again, if you think you're a good little Christian, wonderful person who's trying to be good in the world and you just saw yourself wanting to poke your brother's eyes out, the response internally is, I guess I'm not such a nice person after all. And the whole deal of this is I wanted to be the innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. And I'm innocent to everything that's done to me. Don't you understand? And the Course would say, sorry, not working anymore.
That's never true.
It's never true. I'm always the innocent child of God, not an innocent victim, but an innocent child of God. But I can't experience that unless I get out of the way the entire story of anything or anyone being something other than this love. And, as Ken often said, you cannot leave anybody out. In other words, if I see anybody in the world that is, the bad guy. Oh, I'm turning this the wrong way. The bad guy, the bad guy, then I'm here. I can't be here. I know it's bright. Sorry.
Right.
You need the light. Get used to it. It's getting you prepared, yeah. But if I leave anybody here, I can't be here. And when I say, help me to see this differently, I'm literally saying, show me that my brother, myself, and God are the same, and we're all love, which I can't get here taking this story with me. Okay, this means this. It doesn't mean here, and why don't you understand me, God? God says, huh? What film? What people? What stories? Get them out of the way, and you'll know who I am. And again, we're so addicted to kill or be killed, attack, attack and defense. You say this, bam, I'm going to get you. How dare you? You don't agree with me? I'm going to prove you wrong. And let me tell you all the ways that you're wrong. I don't want to know that we're this. Whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's always going to be a something that I think I know better than somebody else, and I have the right to attack them if they disapprove of my choice, or to try to convince them that my way is right and theirs is wrong. And in a dualistic world, even if you're right, you're still wrong because you're in the dualistic world instead of aligned with God. So again, doesn't matter what's going on here. All kinds of parties go on here that none of them are right. Only this is right.
And you still never feel right. People will say,
Well, and then there's that.
God did it to me. What's wrong with me? What happened? All those kind of questions kind of pull in the truth in there. And we're all clamoring for the truth, but we can't hear it because we're so busy.
Right, because we don't really want to hear it, because I'd rather continue to be separated, an individual and special.
There was
And
a Star
that
Trek
can't happen.
episode where the two characters who were fighting, one had the
Black
black
on
this
one side, yep,
and the other
yep,
one had the black
yep.
side on this side and white, and they said, why are you fighting?
Right.
You got the black side on the wrong side.
And we laugh about a story like that, and yet that's exactly what we are all doing all the time, unbeknownst to ourselves. Yeah. All right, so it has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects strangers to each other. In other words, I'm in duality, so I'm estranged from my brother who's doing something different than I am, or believing different than I am. So we perpetuate the separation. And this is the essence of the fear-prone condition. When we do that, we're always going to be in fear because we're constantly perpetuating fear. Fear lives over here. If I perpetuate that in any way, shape, or form, that's what I'm going to get. It is only when I drop that and choose for this that a different result can come forward. All right, so a fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible, and I would add, and justified. Be very aware that a great deal of the way this is set up is that I'm justified to attack my brother for not agreeing with me, even if it's a 4-year-old. And we don't want to be responsible. We want somebody else to be the problem. And this course just wipes that storyline off the table. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the experiences that I have.
Yeah.
That's a whole different storyline than any storyline that any one of us have ever played in before.
And the only one that works.
And the only one that
With us.
works. Yeah.
You know, arguing with the 4-year-old is.
Not going to get you, well.
But I told him, he told me right back, so he knows about that thing where me and my brother are the same, he knows that on some level, and I just.
Yep.
You know.
But keep remembering, if I'm having a tug of war, and I'm playing the game tug of war, I don't win by continuing to pull. If I let go of the rope, the game's over. We're done.
Yeah.
Well, and the other guy might likely fall down. Not only that, but if he's not done playing the game, he'll go find somebody else on the other end of the rope. But you're done.
Or go and take a nap, that's what.
Or go take a nap. Oh yeah, taking a nap's always good.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys, it's that time.
Stay on that one.
Yeah, right. A little too much going on here, right? All right, so everybody take a nice big deep breath. And like we went over a lot of stuff here, guys, a lot to ponder for this week. And let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unremembrance of our love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given and accept but this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. All right, kids, go forth among the people, find out where you are in